is up? I also have been avoiding making this video because it is definitely not a fun topic. As some of you know, I decided to freeze my eggs before starting tea to preserve my fertility. And so I had the option of starting tea testosterone almost like a year ago from the state, and the reason why I didn't do it is because I was going back and forth on my fertility. And so if you don't really know how testosterone affects fertility, it actually kind of doesn't. There isn't that much research, but from what is kind of known now, you can be on testosterone, stop it, and then have a child. However, people haven't been taking testosterone for that long, so side effects, I guess, aren't fully known, so I just wanted to be on the safe side. So it's kind of complicated in that I had lots of places tell me different things. So the 3 different places that I go to for that I've gone to talk about hormones include Stanford's Youth Trans Clinic and their endocrinologists. Also, my school, Tufts University, offers hormones, so I've talked to the doctors here, and then Fenway Health, which is the leading, one of the leading LGBTQ healthcare providers in the world, and also, luckily, in Boston, which is where I am. So, basically, I went to Stanford over winter break to talk to them about this, and they were like, yeah, just start testosterone, and then we can do the egg stuff later. We will stop you on testosterone over summer break, and you'll do all your egg stuff back home. And that sounded good to my parents because they really didn't want me going through this whole process away at college. But I wasn't so sure about it. So then I came back to Boston after winter break ended, and I talked to Fenway, and they were like, no, don't start hormones and then do the freezing and retrieval process of your eggs afterwards. They were like, just wait on the testosterone. But I felt like I was going crazy because I didn't have a top surgery date, I wasn't on testosterone, so like nothing was happening, and I was really frustrated. And then when I went to my doctor at Tufts, she also was like, no, wait. So I had these 2 different approaches, this kind of Stanford approach, which was more pushing me to do the more experimental stuff, and then like the conservative kind of Fenway approach that was like, no, wait on everything. And I eventually decided to wait on it, wait on the testosterone, but I wasn't going to wait until the summer to do my egg retrieval because I realized I was going to get top surgery then, and instead I decided that I wanted to do it while I was at school here. The first step in my process was figuring out how I was going to get it paid for, and I quickly found out that it was not going to be covered by my insurance whatsoever, so picking which doctor I was going to work with didn't really matter because no matter what, insurance wasn't going to cover it. I talked to my parents. They agreed to paying for the entire process as long as once I graduated my 4-year undergrad, I paid each year for the storage, which is several $1,000s a year, which is great. The entire process ended up being upwards of $10,000, which I would not have been able to do on my own. So I'm really lucky that my parents supported me in this decision. And I feel very lucky that I have parents who can provide the money for me to do so, because very few people can do this thing. Doctor didn't really matter, so I just kind of picked the basic place in my area that like everyone uses. It's called Boston IVF. And I scheduled my first appointment, and that was really scary the first time because I went to their website and it was like, how long have you been trying to get pregnant for? And like, the website was all pink and feminine, typical, and that made me really uncomfortable. And so kind of already I wasn't feeling great about it. And when I clicked on their like LGBTQ tab, it had these like embarrassing photos that I'll put up right now of like these women who look like stereotypical lesbians, and it's like, look, you can be like LGBTQ and have a happy family, and they were just like poster, well, it was so gross. So I didn't feel great about going in. Then I went to my first appointment and I met with the doctor, and he kind of told me everything that was going to happen, and I was pretty scared. And my very first appointment, he kind of just went straight into things and was like, all right, if you're agreed to doing this, like, let's check out how everything looks. So in addition to blood tests, I had this other test that I'm not going to talk about too much because it's pretty, it's hard for me to talk about right now, still kind of just coming out of the process. The blood test I was fine with. This other test I had to get, I've probably gotten like 12 times now, 13, and I've gotten used to it, but it still sucks. It's like when you go to the gynecologist and they put your feet in those really great stirrupy things and they just kind of shove a probe up there, and for a very long time, like, I'm not talking 5 seconds, I'm talking like 5 to 10 minutes, so that they could take measurements of everything and like look at your ovaries and stuff. So yeah, that wasn't fun, and especially because, you know, like, my doctor was actually, I found out later, is gay, but like, just because you're gay doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be inclusive towards trans people. In his office, he like asked me some kind of inappropriate questions, in my opinion. Like, he was like, I don't know if we can do like vaginal scan today because have you had, quote, heterosexual sex? Implying that I was a woman and that I had to be like penetrated in order for him to be able to do the scan, and I was like, this is problematic. Monday morning, I went into their clinic and they taught me how to give myself my shots, and that night I started my shots. And after about 3 days of giving myself shots, 2 to 3 nights of giving myself shots, I really started to feel it. Let me just say, this is the worst medication I've taken in my entire life. They make you super bloated, which is one of the worst parts. Like, my stomach was like flat at the beginning. Not flat, but like fairly flat. By the end, I literally like looked pregnant. And like, also, it's not that they just make your stomach fat, but it's so much worse if you have dysphoria, because where you retain water weight, that's where it also happens. So it happens in here, it happens in your hips. I just felt literally awful. I just like didn't want to get out of bed. I wanted to just die. It was so bad. I was like I'm still wearing sweats right now because I was so bloated that like I couldn't like wear my pants and look like a normal person, especially because also right now my ovaries are really sore, so I'm wearing sweats. But like, I can't wait for that bloating to go down because I've been so bloated for so long. And like, oh, if you say like, oh, I've been bloated before, like after Thanksgiving, you have not been bloated like this. Like, this is not normal period bloating. This is like, take your period bloating and then multiply it by 6. And that's what my stomach is like right now. My first injection, oh, it's upside down. And this is Gonal F. And so it has a pen. So this is the easiest one, which is why I'm starting with it. And you just twist the dial to the amount that you need. So I'm doing 300 international units or whatever. This one is basically the first one you start with. I started on a lower dose. It's FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormones. So now it has the cap off. And so that stimulates your follicles to grow more, which means that you can produce more eggs. inject. The other great thing about this medication, as I mentioned, all of them, is that it makes you super bloated. So like, my stomach is huge right now. I also have this really nice purple bruise from like a not so great injection. So yeah, that's just feels great. I have these 2 vials for like each shot, and one is sodium chloride and the other one is like the actual Menopur. And because the Menopur is like a powder, I don't know if you can see it. So you need to like dissolve it in something. So yeah, I will do both of those. And then this is the last one. This is like Cetrotide or whatever. And this is like the last one that I started to take. Oh, by the way, for the Menopur, I take 2 75 international unit vials, whatever that means. I started just with 75, and then I started taking 2 vials, which is why I did 2 shots. So I guess that is 150 units in total. And then for the Cetrotide, that is, I started like most recently, and that one stops like ovulating from happening because of course you don't want to release an egg if you're going to get them taken out. I hate this one so much. Your ovaries big, which makes you big, and that just sucks. It also causes your brain to release more estrogen, so that feels really great. If I just want the testosterone, and they're like, here, have lots of estrogen. By the end, my estrogen levels were like 5 times as high as normal when someone is on their period, so that's like really high. Yeah. So all those wonderful like period things happen, but it's like an extreme period. I did these shots for like a week and a half, and it just got worse and worse and worse. One night I had to go to the hospital because I was having some concerning symptoms of like fluid buildup, which actually happens like in 1 in 50 people who go through this process, which is like pretty high. I was trying to keep up on all my schoolwork while going through this entire process, which was really stressful. When like some days I couldn't even walk around because I was just in pain. I was also super bloated. I was really depressed because my hormone levels of estrogen were so high. It was just like an extreme period. And every like 2-3 days I was having to go take like 40-minute Ubers like back and forth to early in the morning to get my blood drawn. So I was getting like my blood drawn every like 2 days, and I was getting those really wonderful vaginal ultrasounds all the time, and I was getting misgendered all the time. They're like, yeah, our office is really respectful towards like LGBTQ patients, but like we're gonna have our nurses ask you like, do you need the ladies' room before we do your scan? And it was just weird and awful and horrible, and yeah, I'm glad that's over with. It was just not, it was not fun. And my mom flew out at the very end from California to kind of help me, which is good because I was, you know, like really at that point, like it was hard to get out of bed and whatnot. Friday morning, I went in for my surgery to get them taken out. If you backtrack 36 hours before that, they have you do this thing called a trigger shot, where at that point you stopped all the like stimulating hormones because they've decided, okay, you have enough follicles developed, and you do a trigger shot to like release the eggs, because like they don't want you to ovulate for a really long time because they want to like save the eggs so that they can take them out. But then you have to do a trigger shot so that they're like released at the right time, and then like the surgery happens at the right time. So yeah, I went in for my surgery and I was like, what if my eggs fall out? Which like isn't gonna happen, but was an irrational fear of mine. I'm not really scared of going under in surgery because I've done that honestly too many times for my age, which is weird. So yeah, I went under. It's actually just IV sedation, so you don't wake up feeling as nauseous as you would for like full I can't say that word. You know what I mean. So anesthesia, I think I said that right. I just can't pronounce that word. So yeah, it's like a 15-20 minute procedure, and I came out of it, woke up, and it felt like someone had punched me in the stomach, because like I had been having like pain in my ovaries and my back and stuff, but then like I woke up and I was like, wow, someone just like hit me. I think Noah was like, yeah, someone hit me with a club in the stomach, and I felt the same way. I was like, someone hit me with a club in the stomach, like full on just took a swing right in my stomach, and that felt really great. And like also like down there I was really sore and it was uncomfortable, and like a light amount of bleeding. So yeah, they gave me like pain meds. They gave me like 3 different rounds of it, kind of just like calm everything down. And so that helped a fair amount, but like once those wore off, I like started to feel more like I had been punched in the stomach again. They discharged me and I went home. I kind of slept and my friends visited me, and I just took like a lot of Advil, and basically took the day easy. Actually, when I woke up from my procedure, this was actually kind of one of the hardest parts of it. They were like, yeah, they took out 13 eggs, and then later that day I got an email and it was like, hey, we wanted to let you know that we ended up freezing 8 eggs. And that really actually upset me because I went through this entire process. And at the beginning, my doctor was telling me, since you're young and your levels look good and everything looks healthy, we should be able to get around 15 to 20 eggs. Like, that's my goal, just in one round. And I ended up with 8. And that was really frustrating because I was like, I went through all of this to get 8. And that's also kind of stressful being a 19-year-old. They normally implant 2 at a time in someone. Obviously that's a way long ways out. That's like 4 chances to try to have a kid. And if, you know, those don't take, that's 10,000, at that point it's probably around like $20,000 just out the window. And And that's kind of scary for me to think about. Yeah, that was basically the entire process I went through. If you have any questions, like feel free to drop a comment, or like message me on Instagram or Facebook or something. So yeah, I hope this was like informative, whether you are trans or not, because I think it's something that like not that many people go through. So I just really wanted to talk about it, even though it's very difficult for me to talk about. All right, thank you. Bye.